Hi guys, it's time for Sammy's Reviews, and today's video is a very exciting video because I'm gonna be talking about one of my new favorite bands of all time, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. So, it's an Australian psych rock band that came out in 2010 and has been making albums constantly and abundantly ever since. I'm gonna be introducing the members according to what they play the most because all of them almost do everything. They play all sorts of instruments, they all do vocals. So we have the leading man, Stu Mackenzie, who does vocals, guitar, bass, keyboard. We also have Ambrose Kenny Smith, who does harmonica, vocals, guitar. And we have Joey Walker, who does also vocals, also guitar, and also bass. We have two drummers, Eric Moore and Michael Kavanagh. And we have Cook Gregg, who sometimes does vocals and does bass guitar. And finally, Lucas Skinner on keyboard and bass. So King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard is known for pushing the boundary of the music industry by exploring and mastering different genres and different concepts and different ideas. They're famous for trying new concepts for every album they make. This concept can be thematical concept, structural concept, or a musical concept. It's incredible that in a span of only 8 years, this band has a discography full of 15 albums and over 9 hours worth of music. And you cannot say any album is similar to the other one. In fact, some albums are opposite of each other, such as the two 2019 releases, the Boogie Woogie, Fishing for Fishes, and the thrash metal Infest the Rat's Nest. They're also famous for creating characters and creating stories and medleys and long passages that really enrich their music. And they also use a lot of reoccurring motifs, such as the opening of Hot Water from I'm in Your Mind Fuzz is again there in Robot Stop from Nanigan Infinity. And there are a ton of reoccurring themes and reoccurring ideas and reoccurring musical passages that are inside their albums and inside their discography, and the more you listen to it, the more you come out with these connections. Each and every album is a new piece in their larger story. It goes to the extent that some of the characters they create in a certain album comes around in another album, and it's so exciting for fans to connect all these dots to make a bigger picture and a bigger story. They're constantly challenging themselves, bringing new ideas and bringing back forgotten instruments such as the flute, the clarinet, the harmonica, and blending all these sounds together in the most crazy way. From psychedelic rock in Polygon Wonderland to boogie woogie in Fishing for Fishes to thrash metal in Infest the Rat's Nest to garage rock in I'm in Your Mind Fuzz to acoustic instruments in Paper Mache. Their diversity is insane, and what's even crazier is that all of these albums are excellent. Before we get to where you can start with the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard discography, let me just address how awesome and incredible their live performances are. Their live performances are a standard to how live performances should be made. As I mentioned, they have lots of instruments and lots of layers and complex music, and lots of band members play lots of instruments. So seeing this complex music come to life with band members switching instruments quickly or even playing more than one instrument at the same time. Also a very crazy thing that they promised their fans in 2017 to release 5 entire albums, and they did release the 5 entire albums in the same year. And not to saturate the market because they are pretty freaking famous, but because they believe that a good artist always experiment and therefore has abundance of music. Also, something to mention is their lyrics. Their lyrics are very well made, and it gets to a point that they are surreal or absurd. They always pay attention to their word choices and their word diction, and because of the heavy lyrics and the complex music, their albums do take some time to get used to and to train your ear to appreciate it, to get used to the new style because they constantly change their style, as I mentioned. Okay, enough rambling. Let's get to how and where and when can you start with the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard discography. They have a quite the hefty and the long discography, but I'm gonna be making sure to choose albums that are different yet are a very good representation to the range and the ability of the band. First off, if you're gonna be listening to only one album for King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, I'm gonna be recommending Nanigan Infinity. It's what I call the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard capsule, because it represents exactly what the band can do, but in a very, very, very small form. The music, the instruments, and their playing is top-notch, and it has one of the most iconic moments of their entire discography. And the crazy concept of Nanigan Infinity is that a Nanigan is a 9-sided figure, and the album is the Nanigan Infinity because it consists of 9 songs that loop in and connected together, and the very last song connects with the beginning of the first song, so you can literally listen to the entire album forever. It's gonna keep looping in and in and in until forever. So it's technically one long song. Some of the songs that stood out in Nanigan Infinity: Gamma Knife, People Vulture, Robot Stop, Big Fig Wasp. The second album I'm gonna be recommending for King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard is Flying Macrotonal Banana. And this is another perfect album because something that King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard really caught my attention is their ability to play music using macrotonal tunes. And this is literally against what our ears are designed to comprehend, and it takes a really long time to fathom this kind of music, and you have to, again, to train your ears to love it and appreciate it. Definitely a dense album, definitely an album that represents King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard at their peak, and it has awesome live performances that you should check out. Some of the songs that stood out in this album are Nuclear Fusion, Sleep Drifter, Billabong Valley, Doom City, and of course the epic Rattlesnake. The third album I'm gonna be recommending is Paper Mache Dream Balloon. What stands out in this album is their ability to blend in the flute, the clarinet, and the harmonica, which are all similar yet different sounds, and they blend it perfectly. These instruments give out sort of a fantasy-like tone, and it makes you feel like you are in a supernatural world where there's hobbits and elves and dragons. The album instrumentally sounds really optimistic and really hopeful and really energetic, but when you read the lyrics, it's some of the darkest lyrics that you'll ever read. For example, there's a song that's called Bone, and it's literally talking about how any dog can chew over your bones after you die. And it literally means just stop stressing and stop thinking too much of yourself, because we're all gonna be food for the dogs. Some of the songs that stood out in this album: The Bitter Woogie, Dirt, and Trapdoor. This album has no electronic machines, it only relies on acoustic instruments. The fourth album I'm gonna be recommending is the thrash metal Infest the Rat's Nest. It's a post-apocalyptic heavy metal album that's about a world that is meeting its end, that has been torn apart by a global pandemic. Sounds familiar, right? The rich people fled to Mars while the normal people, the common people, stayed on Earth, killing each other off and forming a riot against the rich people. This is King Gizzard's foray into the thrash metal genre. It has a very fast tempo and very aggressive drumming, and Stu Mackenzie's constantly screaming his lungs off like a veteran metal vocalist that has been around for so long. Songs that stood out in this album: Self-Emulate, Planet B, Mars for the Rich, and the epic and longest track, Superbug. The fifth and final album I'm gonna be recommending is Polygon Wonderland. This is the most progressive King Gizzard album. It's a spiritual journey, a way of self-discovery that explores abstract ideas such as heaven and hell and faith and religion, and literally the concept of tetrachromacy, which basically means opening your third eye or your spirit to the world and exploring mediums that has never been explored before. And it's kind of a meditation, and it's exactly what the tone of the album is aiming for. It has some of the best lyrics in the entire discography and some of the best vocal abilities. It feels like a chanting cult at some point, and along with the instruments, it creates a visceral landscape. Some of the best tracks in this album: the 10-minute grand opening, Crumbling Castle, and Inner Cell, and Loyalty, and Tetrachromacy, the finale, The Fourth Color. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard is such an important band. I believe that this is how music should be made. It should be just a bunch of people exploring and pushing the boundaries and adding new themes, new ideas, new concept to the music industry, instead of just clones and molds of the same music and the same song, and people just sticking to what they know. King Gizzard is just an example of how artists should be. They should be bold, they should be fearless, and they should be brilliant. This is definitely one of my favorite bands of all time. It's definitely the natural progression of anyone who has been listening to music for so long. It's so fresh to the ear. You feel like you have not heard any of their works before. It truly feels like a hard-working band in their studio albums, in their live performances, and they are not aiming for fame or being superstars or being popular people. They just do music because they love making music. These has been my recommendations. Do you like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard? Do you know them? Would you like to check them out? Please leave your opinion down below, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!